Hello, my name is David Jefferson, pianist, composer, instructor. I created this series breaking down barriers to music theory to simplify mastering the fundamentals of music theory through very accessible approaches and lectures that you can do in simply minutes a day.
This course comes jam-packed with a series of short interactive lessons featuring brilliant on-screen displays and live tutorials allowing you to see what is played in real time. Creatively illustrated using professional software and resources, this course allows you to set the pace and guide your own learning through over 3 hours of video content with the assistance of a multi-award winning master certified instructor. Be prepared to learn such skills as navigating the keyboard in grand staff, the musical alphabet, forming chords, basic articulations, writing rhythm, major and minor scales, writing and reading intervallic notation, forming the basic triads in any key, major, minor, augmented, and diminished functions, reading in any time signature, inversions of chords and triads, finding what key you are in, key signatures, and more. I am committed to help you build your musical foundation. Your key to success is taking that first step and purchasing Breaking Down Barriers to Music Theory. Hello, this is David Jefferson, and welcome to Music Theory in Minutes, Unit 1, Chapter 1.1, The Keyboard and the Musical Alphabet. The keyboard of the piano consists of a row of white keys and groups of 2 and 3 black keys. Now, left to right can be thought of as up, or a better way to think of it is climbing, as the notes and the sound will be higher. And now right to left is considered going down, as you'll know the sound and the notes are also lower. Think of it as falling down and climbing up. Now the black keys, each set of 2 has a set of 3 white keys associated to them. These are the notes C, D, and E. So each black keys, sets of 2, have C, D, and E. And you'll notice the sets of 3 black keys repeating have the notes F, G, A, B, with next to those each of those groups of 3. So C, D, E with those 2, F, G, A, B with those 3. Now let's see how that looks on the staff. We have C, D, E, and then F, G, A, B. And that's middle C that I'm using, which is considered the center of the keys. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And you'll notice all together, if we take these, all together you'll see it is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. From middle C, going line, space, line, space, line, space, and so on. You'll notice if you're descending, going down from middle C, it'll look a little bit different, like this. C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. C like that. Starting from middle C, going line, space, line, space, line, space. See, this is down in the music versus down on the keys, like that. You also notice that the musical alphabet is really only composed of the notes A to G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So then the next note is A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And so on. And the next note is A. That's the whole musical alphabet, A to G. And all ascending and descending it will repeat the same pattern. A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. G, F, E, D, C, B, A. See? And then it follows that pattern all the way across the keys and will become easier in time. A quick way to navigate is a technique I call 2 on 2. With the right hand, use the second and third fingers, your pointer and your middle finger, and place them on any set of 2 keys, 2 black keys, like this. And what I want you to do is play them with 2 and 3 and slide off to the closest keys on the outside of those. And then once you do that, hold those 2 notes down that you slid off to on the outsides, let go of the top one, and the bottom one you're left with is always the note C. 2 on 2, slide off, let go of the top. You will always have the note C. Chapter 1.2, Time Signature. To help us understand music and count time, music is divided into boxes or measures. This area in between here, separated by lines that we call bars right here. A double bar that you can see right here is placed at the end of the piece and elsewhere in the pieces to divide it into sections, whereas you have normal bars for normal measures. The time signature always appears at the beginning, and it tells us how to count. The top number tells us how many beats fill a measure, while the lower number tells the kind of note that gets 1 beat. A much easier way I try to think of this is in 2 words. The top number, how many? The bottom number, what type? So here you'll see we have 2, 4. So the top number, how many? 2 beats. 1, 2, 1, 2. And what type? 4, meaning quarter. 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, showing for example, say over here we have 4/4, or otherwise known as common time, and that means the top number. How many? 4 beats per 1 measure. What type? On the bottom, 4, meaning quarter notes. Lo and behold, you'll see that we have here every beat evenly divided into 4 equal beats per measure. How many? 4. And what type? Is quarter notes. See? If I were to play on each beat, adds up to 4. How many? 4. What type? Quarter notes. Filled in with the stem. We will get into some of these more advanced time signatures and work with how those work a little bit later on. This also a good point to know is that the bottom number, if it's like say 4, an 8, or a 2, what that stands for there is 4 is a quarter note, 1 beat. 8 is an eighth note, a half a beat right here. And when you see a 2 on the bottom, that means a half note. So here, how many? 4. And here, what type? Half notes. 4 half notes. See, like that. We'll get into more advanced time signatures as we go on. Chapter 1.3, Whole Steps. Whole steps on the keyboard. A whole step is made up of 2 half steps, such as this. Or here. Now, the way that these half steps work is for whole steps is they will always go a few certain ways. A whole step will be 2 white keys if there is a black key in between. As you can see here, 2 adjacent white keys with 1 black key in between will make a whole step. Still, 2 half steps apart like that. It will be 2 black keys if there is a white key in between. Right here, or these. With this white key in between, or these. That's a whole step with 1 white key in between. Like that. So 2 black keys if there's a white key in between. Otherwise, they will be black to white or white to black with a white key in between. Here's white to black. See, there's a white key in between. That's your whole step. And here is white to black, white key in between. Here, black to white, the white key in between. So once again, the three different ways you can have a whole step is two white keys, the black key in between, two black keys with the white key in between. Otherwise, white to black with the white key in between. Those are all whole steps. Now, whole steps on the staff. Whole steps are written on staff degrees next to each other, line to space, or space to line. They are spelled with two letter names next to each other in the alphabet. Whole steps going up would be F, G, like this, or B, C sharp, A flat to B flat, C sharp to D sharp, B flat to C, E going down to D, C to B flat, A flat to G flat, F sharp to E, and A sharp to G sharp. We'll be working more with whole steps as we go on. Chapter 1.4, Half Steps. Now, half steps on the keyboard. A half step on the keyboard is the distance from any key, white or black, to the very next key. White to black, white to black, or black to white, black to white, black to white, white to black, and so on. E to F and B to C are white keys that are a half step apart. E to F, B to C. Those are the only half steps that are white keys, a half step apart. And you'll see that with those, a half step has no notes you can fit in between. All other half steps are going to be white to black or black to white, as so. Now, half steps written and spelled. When notes are written differently yet sound the same, they are called enharmonic. There are two ways to spell and to write half steps on the staff. Chromatic half steps and diatonic half steps. Let's take a quick look at chromatic half steps. Chromatic half steps are those on the same line or space with the same letter name and letter position. See? An example of a chromatic half step is F and F sharp. See how the note name F and F are the same, but the sharp brings it a half step higher, making it a half step. What about this one? Here's another chromatic one. E to E sharp. You'll notice here that it's two different keys, but the same name. E to E sharp. Here, G to G sharp. We have a half step. No notes can be placed in between. Yet it's on the same line and same note name. Chromatic half step. Another one here. D to D sharp. Or here, how about going down? C to C flat. Flat, bringing it just a half step down, like that. Diatonic half steps are those on line to space or space to line next to each other with different letter names, yet still a half step apart. Here's a diatonic half step. F and G flat. See how it's still a half step here, but different letter names. Here's another one, like space to line. E to F. Still the same thing, except it's diatonic because of the naming of different notes and the placement of space to line. Here's another one that is a diatonic half step. G to A flat. Now there, you'll see it's still a half step. Different letter names. How about this one? D to E flat. E flat is enharmonic. This note here can be E flat or D sharp. In this case, it's E flat in your diatonic half step, or here in your chromatic half step. The same line, it's D and D sharp. That's sort of how enharmonic notes work. And of course, your last diatonic half step is C to B. Different note names, making it diatonic, yet it's still a half step. Easy way to hear half steps versus whole steps if you've seen the hit Hollywood movie Jaws. Chapter 1.5 Rests. Rests means silence. They have different time values just like notes. Notice just how and where they are placed on the staff. Even practice drawing them if need be. Here we have a whole note, or 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we have a whole rest. Notice that it's hanging down underneath the line, as you can see like this here. That will get 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same as the whole rest. Now the half note, 1, 2, is the same as the half rest. Rest, rest. Notice that this one is sitting on top of the line like that. An easy way to remember these is just 2 animal sayings that I grew up with. Monkey hangs and rabbit sits. The one underneath, the monkey hangs around for a lot longer time, ergo 4 beats. Rabbit sits. As you see, it's a rabbit sitting on top of the line. So, and think hare hops, right? Because it's the rabbit sitting there, hare hops, or 1, 2, you know? So just think of that one as the rabbit sitting, hare hops, for 1, 2. Or monkey hangs, for the whole duration, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, you also have your standard quarter note, which is equivalent to 1 beat, and your quarter rest that will look like this, equivalent to a quarter rest, like that. And then you have your 8th note here. See how this one has a straight stem for 1 beat. 8th notes will always have, singly like this, a curved line in like that, meaning half a beat. And filled in, while these 2 are not. Whole note, no lines on it, just the note, not filled in. And the half note is for 2 beats, not filled in, and with that there. Remember, whole note, monkey hangs, hare hops. Quarter note for 1 beat. And notice the 8th rest. This is a rest for half a beat, equivalent to half a beat with the 8th note there. So, knowing that, let's take a look at this and how the rests are used right here. Notice you have a bass clef here. Rest-like notes may be dotted to increase their value by half. So if I were to play through this here, and counting it, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, rest, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. See, you have that half rest right there. And so see this here, notice how it's 4-4. If we look back at our time signature, how many beats on top? 4. 1, 2, 3, and the dot, remember, dots, increase the value by half. So half of this is an 8th note. So the 8th note is in a dot right here for the first half of the 4th beat. Second half of the 4th beat is there. That's sort of how those measures are. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4. The rest will always be equal as notes, only that there's no sound to the rest. The whole rest means a full silence for 4 beats. However, It may also mean silence for a whole measure, right? Regardless of the number of beats. Here, notice we have a 3/4 time signature. That means how many and what type. How many? 3 beats per measure. 1, 2, 3. What type? Quarter notes. 1 beat. 1, 2, 3. And then notice here, though, we have monkey hangs, or the whole rest, right? See this here? It's for the whole duration. Even though it's 3/4, this is still used as a measure rest, you know. It could be whatever time signature. This would still be placed to let you know that there is nothing played. It won't change the time signature, right? It will still be counted as 3, except it will just be shown as this to let you know that the whole measure is in rests. So, playing this out in, let's see, 3/4 time signature would be like this. Like that. See? And 1, 2, 3, rest, rest, rest. 1, 2, 3, rest, rest, rest. See? Still rest, same counting. Here we have 2/4. How many? 2. 1, 2. What type? Quarter, quarter, quarter. So this here, you'll notice that we have 1, 2, rest, rest. 1, 2, rest, rest. It's a whole rest, but since it's 2/4, it gets the value of 2 beats, right? Just because of this here. Double bar line signifying the end. Chapter 1.6, Chords. Notes to be sounded together are printed one above the other, also known as chords. Played with the same hand on the piano, they are often attached to the same stem, as you can see here. They are placed on the same side of the stem, except when they are next door neighbors, like looking at the 1, 2, 3, third measure, and beat 1, 2, 3. Right here, those are next door neighbors, seconds, except they are played together still. And the right hand is played up on the treble clef up here, while the left hand is played on the bass clef down here. Everything that's verticalized on one part of the clef, like up here in the right hand, if it's verticalized above other notes on the bottom, then all of this is thought to be verticalized together. Like if I were to play through this excerpt here, it would sound something like this. Notice that the rests also count as same value as notes. Tones sounded together produce harmony. Tones sounded in succession, following each other in an orderly way, are what create a melody, or what is called a melody. And the combination of long and short tones with accents is called rhythm. The 3 elements combined create music, melody, harmony, and rhythm. We will explore these further as we go on. Chapter 1.7, Ties. The tie is a curved line joining 2 notes on the same line or same space. In other words, notes of the same pitch. There can be no notes or rest between them with the tie. The first note is played, and the second is not played, but its value is added to that of the first one. The tie joins the note heads, not the stems, right? So if I were to play this in 4/4, how many, what type? How many? 4. What type? Quarter. 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. See, and holding it for the duration of the note tied to that one is the exact equivalent of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ties can also be held across measures, like say for example, I show you this right here in 3/4. I'm going to play a beat, but I'll hold the third beat for an extra beat. Watch what happens. See that? I held that one. See, this is 3 beats, each in each measure, right? But I held this one for an extra beat, and you see, it tied it over and added that extra beat across the measure. You can also hold for longer durations across the measure as well. Chapter 1.8 Sharps. Sharps and flats on the keyboard. You may have been wondering in greater detail what the black keys' purpose and function is throughout a lot of music. Each of the black key has 2 names, like we covered with enharmonics. Its sharp name is taken from the white key below it. If I were to play this key right here, F, natural, right? Its sharp name would be taking it up a half step here, up to here, making it F sharp. So not only on the keys does it go up a half step to this note here, except a sharp sign like this is placed before the note in the music. And then so basically what that sharp sign means is to take the original note and to raise it up a half step. As you can guess, if we take this note here, G, and go up just a half step from the sharp, it becomes G sharp. And here, if we take this, A, and move it up just a half step to this note here, A sharp, right? So here, it also is the same thing with C and D. We have the note C natural, but if we add a sharp here, it will take it up a half step to the black key directly right there. If we take D natural, add a sharp in front of it with D in the music, it will become D sharp, just like that. We will get into flats in greater detail a little bit later on, except a basis is very the same. If you take flats are just a different direction, they look like this. If a flat is placed before the note G natural, it'll take it down a half step right here to G flat. Same thing as F sharp, right? If we take A, but instead put a flat in front of it, that takes it down to A flat. Same thing, B. With a flat in front of it, takes it down to B flat. Same thing here, D, down 1 to D flat, right here. And E, add a flat to it, we'll take it down to E flat. Now there are also double sharps and double flats, which we'll get into later on, which is basically if you took C, double flat would be 1, 2. So C double flat or B flat, right? We'll get into that. And double sharp, same thing. C up 2 would be a double sharp. So C double sharp would be here. We'll learn about that, like I said, again, a little bit later on as we elaborate through these. But for now, that's a good start. And also remember that C natural, if we were to take it down a flat to this note here, C flat is actually a white key right here. Which we may discuss also as well about a little bit later on. See, enharmonics, because this could be B or C flat, right? And the same thing can go with E, is not pictured. E, if we were to take E, we can look over here. E, if it were E sharp, which are not as common, E sharp would be the note F natural, because E, placing a sharp in front, we'll take it up a half step. Chapter 1.9 Eighths and Sixteenth Notes. Now, I pulled up this chart right here of time values to give you a greater overall understanding of where the rhythmic values are coming from. Also, 32nds and 64ths and 1/28th notes do exist. They are not pictured here, as you'll see those in very advanced repertoire. These are the most basic of time values, the ones that you'll see in a lot of the major music. You'll notice here that you have a whole note that is 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can split that in half, and then when you split that in half, you'll get 2 half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, equivalent to 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Now, if you were to take each of those half notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and have those again, that's where you get your quarter notes, still conserving those 4 beats, except halved will be 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Still equivalent to the whole note, right? But let's go another step further. When we take those quarter notes and have them again, each of those, you'll still have 4 beats, except you will have what we call eighth notes. 2 of them connected, you'll see a stem like this, right? Across. Or if it's single, you'll see the stem going down. So with this now, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and still equivalent to 4 beats in the same time, except the eighth notes are halves of quarters. A quarter is a half of a half, and a half is a half of a whole. As you guessed it, we have 16th notes here at the bottom, which through this we're taking the eighth notes, each of those, and having them again. What you get is a 2 16th notes for each of those 1/8 notes. So you're seeing the pattern, 2 16ths for 1/8, 2 eighths for 1 quarter, 2 quarters for 1 half, 2 halves for 1 whole. There's another note that is, there are also further durations you can achieve with dots that are greater, and ties that are greater than a whole note as well. For the sake of this exercise though, see how these are still conserved into that 4 beats, right? And, except when it's 16th notes, you have 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4E and a, see, still 4 beats. If you were to double those, you would have your eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and still 4 beats. Quarters, 1, 2, 3, 4, and half notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then your whole note, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And remember, any combination of any of these notes can be made to equal the time value. They just have to add up correctly. So these are the general basic rhythms to expect. And remember, whatever that time signature is, that is what these have to follow. To show you a quick example too, how about I go over here? I'll show you in 4/4 time example of what this would sound like with metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and hang on, and then see 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then those are your eighth notes right there. And now if I were to do 16ths, let's see if it'll register it like this. 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4 and a 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4 and a 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4 and a, well, you get the idea, even if the software doesn't. See how that works? Very good. Chapter 1.10, Articulations, Staccato. Staccato is an Italian word that means detached or separated. That can be shown by playing notes very in a detached like. And usually with staccato, there are spaces between the notes, like they're not joined. Here's an example of playing a note normally, right? If I were to play it staccato, a very interesting playing technique that I use, I think of touching the piano key as if you're briefly tapping your finger on a hot stove, trying not to burn your finger, but trying to still touch the stove. And thinking of it that way, you'll get a very nice, brief, and short staccato sound, such as this. Like that. Playing normally is like this. Staccato, very brief. See, like that. And staccato, you'll see, is signified by a dot, not to be confused with the dot that's in front of the note when you have a dot adding a value to it. A dot is placed over or under a note to indicate when it's a note that's played staccato. Like that, see? Over or under, not in front of it, meaning to add half the value. The dot is above or below for staccato, meaning to play it nice and short. Now, something else to keep in mind while you're learning staccato is what slurs are. And to understand a slur, you would need to understand legato. Legato, another Italian word, which means bound or connected, to play the music or notes smoothly, each tone exactly joining to the next. I'll show you an example on the C major scale. Here is playing a C major scale normal, or non-legato. Now, if I were to play it with legato, signified by a slur, often placed over or under a group of notes as a reminder to play all of them underneath the slur legato, it would be more like this, very smoothly in legato. See how the notes are very much more connected as opposed to like this. They're very connected. Can you hear the difference? And in the music, I'll play this here. If slurred like this would mean that a slur is different than a tie. Remember, a tie is a curved line like this, except only over the same notes. A slur, meaning to play all the notes underneath, very smooth, is over different notes, right? If I were to play this, this would sound like this. Remembering to let up at the end of slurs, right? Here we go. And then you drop an octave down here. Then you have this. See, like there. Notice how it's very smooth, as opposed to, disconnected. It's very slurred. Okay, so that's a lot of those articulations, staccato and legato. How you know something is to be played staccato? By the dot above or below the note. How you know something is to be played legato or smooth is by a slur over different notes, like that. Another way to remember slur and legato is if you slur your words very often like this. A slur means to play everything very connected like, as opposed to speaking normally and not as connected. Chapter 1.11, Flats. This is the last unit in section 1, and we'll take a quick review of flats as well as sharps on the staff. As you recall, the sharp before a note tells us to play the note a half step higher. For example, C natural, C sharp would be a half step higher. The flat before a note tells us to play the note a half step lower. D flat, half step lower. For example, The natural sign before a note is a reminder to play the white key, not the sharp or the flat. So see how you have right here, we have B flat right here. Notice that's the same line with these two notes. If you take B flat and add a natural sign to it, then that natural takes it up a half step to the original note. Natural, when you think natural, think the original note. Or adding a flat takes it down one, right? And these other ones, these are like sharps: C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp. Exact and harmonic, as you recall, same as D flat, E flat, G flat, A flat, and B flat. And remember, a natural sign added to any of these will take it up a half step. Also remember that in music, once an accidental is placed over a note, that accidental will carry over every note that every time you reach that note in that measure, that accidental will carry onto all of those notes during the whole duration of the measure, unless a natural sign is placed over the note by which that note, all the notes remaining in that measure will then be natural. As you will learn as we go on, the same thing as, and also the sharps or flats assigned to notes will reset whether there's a natural or not by the next measure, right? When the sharp, flat, or natural occurs in the course of music, the name for this is called an accidental. An accidental affects all the notes on the same line or space, as I mentioned, in the same measure only, unless it is cancelled by the natural. So it affects every note all the way through unless a natural is placed. Even though a natural is placed in that measure, making all of those notes now the natural, once you get to the next measure, the natural will cancel and it will be whatever is defined. The sharp, flat, or natural is placed before the note in the music, like this, except written, it's going to be placed after the note. See? C sharp, C sharp, E flat, E flat, right here, and B natural, see we're in bass clef, and B natural. Very good. Now the key signature is something we're going to introduce here as well. It's the group of sharps or flats that is placed right after the clef at the beginning of each of the bars. It means that these sharps or flats are to be used throughout the entire music, unless any naturals tell you to do otherwise. Every measure where a note falls on any of these lines or spaces, right? Not just the G sharp, say up here, but any G sharps entirely will be played as a G sharp. Any G's will be played as G sharp. Anything on the C line here or any other C lines anywhere else will be played as C sharp, right? In this, all the F, C's, and G's are to be sharped, meaning all of them. And here, B flat and E flat, all the B flats and the E, all the B's and E's are to be flatted basically. That could mean B flats and E flats anywhere where you have those. Okay, well, this is the end of section 1. Make sure to review these as we go on to section 2.